What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and we are here with our Maria Hill analysis video. And I just did the Nick Fury one, so yeah, we will be taking a look at Maria Hill here and running all of her cards through my patented hero charts and evaluation system right here. So if you guys do not know, I have the system right here that I evaluate Marvel Champions heroes by, and there's 5 major categories: Thwart, Attack, Survivability, Economy, and Versatility. And yeah, I have not played Maria Hill yet, but we have seen all of her cards because she has been globally released, even though the release date was delayed here in the States. So we know pretty much what she's gonna do. So I'll be checking through her cards and seeing how she does here, and giving an overall power ranking for how strong I think that she is here. And before we begin, I do want to give a huge shout out here to Kingdom Come Cards, who are the sponsor of this video and one of the sponsors of this channel. So they are an amazing Marvel Champions, card buying place that you can get a bunch of Marvel Champions singles if you don't want to buy the whole hero pack. And I do have a bunch of sealed products here as well. So I'm here on their website. So they have like the Magneto Hero Pack, $14.99, Cyclops Hero Pack, $14.99, and if you buy stuff for over $70, shipping is going to be free as well. And of course, you guys know they have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. expansion here, which you can pre-order right here. And if you want to support this channel, you guys can get it here. And then if we go to checkout here on the cart, you can enter the code WW5, that is WW5 Web Warrior 5. To get a discount, and it will support me as well with this affiliate link. So yeah, that's WW5. Please go support them. Please support me and get your pre-order of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. expansion here. Thank you so much, Kingdom Come Cards, for sponsoring this video. And yeah, let's jump back to the Maria Hill review right here. So before we get super deep into Maria Hill, let me pull out her cards right here. So let's take a look at what she does, because she is also a very unique hero, similar to Nick Fury. So this is her alter ego card right here. And whenever you are playing Maria Hill, she has the deck building ability here, where you can include the maximum number of copies of 3 shield supports in your deck from aspects other than your chosen aspect, right? So she can pretty much have shield supports from any aspect, and you can include the maximum number of copies of those cards. So if those shield supports have the unique trait, you only have 1 copy of them. If they don't, you can have 3 copies of them whenever you're building her deck. And as the action here in an alter ego, you can exhaust her, search your deck for a shield support, and add to your hand, so she can get that going on. And then for her hero side of the card, she has 2 thwart, 1 attack, and 2 defense, and then each ally you control gains a shield trait. So while Maria Hill is in hero form, every single ally will have the shield trait, which is pretty powerful. And she also has an action in her hero form called reassignment, where you can move 1 counter from any shield support to another shield support. So one thing whenever we are evaluating Maria Hill is that we have to keep in mind that her entire hero kit revolves around shield supports. So she is going to be relying on her aspect cards and basic cards being shield supports, because if she doesn't do that, then a lot of her cards will be a lot less impactful, right? So for example, if we take a look at her 2-cost event here, hero action, for each shield support you control, choose 1, remove a threat from the scheme, or deal 1 damage to enemy. If you have no shield supports, then this card does nothing, right? On the double here, 0-cost event, ready any number of shield supports with a combined cost of 6 or less. If you don't have any shield supports, it also does nothing. The hard card here, same thing, 2-cost event, hero action, discard a shield support you control, deal X damage to an enemy where X equal to the printed cost of the support. If you don't have supports, it doesn't do anything. And then Maria Hill only has 2 shield supports in her hero kit here. The support staff, it's a 1-cost support, has a shield trait, and the Iliad 6-cost support also has a shield trait. So you really need to play her with shield supports, from basic cards or aspect cards, and you need to add that into her deck. She comes with a bunch in her pre-con deck, but if you choose to build without that, we're not going to be able to do really well. So whenever I'm evaluating her, usually I want to evaluate a hero, with just their identity-specific kit, right, without outside sources. But for cases like Maria Hill, and like I did the same thing with Cyclops whenever I did my hero review for Cyclops, because Cyclops, you can have X-Men allies from any aspect when you're deck building for him. It makes sense to evaluate Cyclops with his deck building ability, that you can have X-Men allies from any aspect in his deck. So those powerful X-Men allies are kind of a part of how powerful Cyclops is, right? So when we are evaluating Maria Hill, we kind of want to keep that in mind, that it's not just going to be her hero kit here, but also with those shield supports that are going to make her a little bit more powerful. Okay, so let's jump into it here. So for each major category like Thor, Attack, Survivability, Economy, and Versatility, I have 3 subcategories I think are the most important things of that major category. So for Thwarting, the 3 subcategories are going to be the stat line, the control, and the cards. I think the stat line, the Thwart stat line in particular, is the most important stat line in Marvel Champions, because if a hero has a good Thwart stat line, they can immediately remove threat off the main scheme, like initial threat, or help clear off some side schemes right away. And what I'm usually looking for is at least a Thwart stat of 2 to get a check mark for this category. So if we take a look at Maria's hero card here, she has 2 Thwart, 1 attack, and 2 defense. She does have that 2 thwarting there, so if a hero has 1 or less thwart, I would not give them the check mark. If they have 2 or more thwart, I will give them the check mark. So she does have the 2 thwart, so of course I will give her the check mark here for her thwarting stat line. Then for the control of a hero, I think that this is very important when evaluating a hero's thwarting ability, because will this hero be able to flip down safely and do alter ego shenanigans? And basically what you need to fulfill the check mark for this category is either have a way to mitigate threat, right? Like prevent threat from going on the main scheme, or if you can like confuse a villain or like have statuses in that type of way to just prevent the villain from scheming. And Maria Hill, she wants to be an alter ego a lot, right? Because she has an amazing alter ego ability. Let's take a look at that again, where you can exhaust her to search your deck for a shoot support, add to your hand. She has the alter ego hand size of 6, and a lot of her cards here are just actions, right? So you can play this action in alter ego. You can play this action alter ego as well, right? And then a lot of her shoot supports, like the Iliad here, it's an action that you can trigger in alter ego. So she kind of wants to be an alter ego, but she has no way to mitigate threat from going on the main scheme, right? She has ways to remove that threat, but no way to straight up mitigate it. So it's going to be difficult for her, especially in true solo, to hang out in alter ego where she wants to be, because she has more economy with her hand size of 6 and all that stuff. That's why she does not get a check mark for the control category for her throwing ability. And the third subcategory for Thwart is going to be the cards in her kit. And basically, it's like, does she have, good Thwart events? Some heroes don't have Thwart events. They have another way to remove threats, like an upgrade or something like that. That's fine too if it's a good card or not. And I did give her the check mark here for her thwarting cards, but there is an asterisk here, so it's not like a definitive check mark. So we take a look at her thwarting cards. Her main Thwart event, quote unquote. It's not really a Thwart event because it is an event, but it's not a Thwart activation. It's this hero action right here. So 2-cost event. And unfortunately, you have to be in hero form to trigger it, which is not my favorite thing, because I feel like a lot of her kit works without her being hero form. But for each shoot support you control, you can choose and you can pick the one whips to remove 1 threat from a scheme. So if you have 3 shoot supports and you play this event, you can remove 3 threat from a scheme. Now this can be really good late game when you have 5 shoot supports, because then it's 2 for 5 threat remove. If you have 10 shoot supports, you can remove 10 threat from a scheme, which is just insane. I don't know if you ever get that many shoot supports playing Maria Hill. Probably will, because she wants to do those shoot supports. But early game, this card is not good. Like on a turn 1, if you play 1 shoot support and you play this card, it's 2 costs to just remove 1 threat from a scheme. That is absolutely terrible. It is not a good card unless you get at least, in my opinion, 3 shoot supports. You want to get at least 2 for 3 threat removal. Same for the damage. If you pick that one, you want at least 2 for 3 damage, right? And even then, it's not like amazing, but it's passable. So before you get that 3 shoot supports in play, this card is not good. If you get that, it's going to be pretty good. It just kind of depends, how that works. And she also has the Iliad right here. It's a 6-cost support, so very expensive. Comes in with 3 mission counters as an action, so you can use this in alter ego and hero form. You can exhaust Iliad and remove 1 mission counter from it, and then you can choose to either do 5 damage to enemy, remove 4 from a scheme, or heal 3 from an identity. So this can remove 4 from a scheme. So the tempo on this is very, very slow, because paying 6 costs to remove 4 threat is not great. But over the course of 3 turns, you can potentially remove 12 threat with the 3 mission counters, and Maria Hill can add more counters on it and move counters from other cards over to this card. So you can definitely get more value from this card the longer that the game goes on, but initially it's not going to be that good. So for her thwarting cards, I gave the asterisk here because she does have cards that can do thwarting, and late game the thwarting is going to be really good. But early game, it's not going to be that good. So, it's asterisk there. If you guys want to consider to not give the check mark there, I will not argue with that. But I think I'm just going to give her the check mark here, because I feel like she's going to have a good way to do some thwarting early game, because her economy is pretty good and she can play allies to help her thwart. And playing allies is kind of, part of her kit, because she is, the leadership style, and her hero ability is each ally you control gains a shoot trait. So you do want to play her with some allies, right? So yeah, because of that, I am just going to give her a check mark here, but definitely not going to argue if you guys don't think that that is right. So yeah, overall for thwarting ability, I gave Maria Hill a 2 out of 3 score. The next major category for heroes, in my opinion, in Marvel Champions, is going to be the attacking ability of a hero. So right here, the 3 subcategories that we have are the burst damage, small instance of damage, and the cost curve of those attack events. So what do I mean by big burst damage? A lot of villains in Marvel Champions get really, really tough on their final stages. Like my favorite example, I always say this, is a stage 3 of Venom Goblin. Whenever he's reviewed on stage 3, he's going to deal each player 3 face down encounter cards, and he'll do you 1 more during the encounter step. So it's going to be 4 total encounter cards that the player has to review. Super duper nasty, so you want to 1-turn kill him right away, and then when you have big burst of damage, you can also avoid retaliate damage, right? So if you're doing, if you need to do like 20 damage to defeat a villain, and it's all like small pings, and you take a bunch of retaliate, that may defeat your hero before you can defeat the villain. Most of the time, it's going to be useful to have big burst damage in a hero's kit. So Maria Hill, she has big burst damage, but it's going to be an asterisk here again, right? She's a very difficult hero, in my opinion, to evaluate, at least through my hero charts here. So the reason why she has, big burst damage is because of cards like the Iliad, right? You can exhaust it to do 5 damage to an enemy. And if you play a card like, on the double, ready any number of shoot supports you control with a combined cost of 6 or more. So you play a 0-cost event, you can ready up the Iliad again and exhaust it again to do another 5 damage. So that's like, 5, plus another 5 here, and then you can do on double again, ready up again, and then do another 5. So that's 15 damage with just 2 cards played from your hand, right? So you can still do other damage with other cards in your hand. So that is really good. That's kind of like an ideal situation because it's going to be hard to get there. So I went ahead and gave her that check mark there, but you can definitely argue that she does not have the big burst damage because it requires way too much setup. But at the same time, that's kind of what her kit is all about, right? Her kit, the way you play her, is going to be through setting up. She needs to play those shoot supports and needs to get that all built out in order to do her thing. So if you play her the way that she wants to be played, you eventually will have the big burst damage. And same for this card right here, right? It's a 2-cost event. As a hero action, you can do 1 damage to enemy for each shoot support you control. If you have like 5 shoot supports, which ideally with Maria Hill you have at least 5, it's 2 for 5 damage, which is very good, right? So it just kind of depends. Can you get her, built out in the way she wants, and then trigger all of her effects and get all that damage out? But I think most of the time she will be able to do that, so I am going to give her the check mark here for her burst damage. And then for the small instance of damage, that's the next subcategory for the attack ability. And yeah, that she also has another asterisk here. So these are the last asterisks that I'm giving for Maria Hill. And yeah, it's definitely debatable if she deserves this point here. I think that small instance of damage is important in Marvel Champions because if an enemy has like a tough status card, can you knock it off and still do damage to them? If a hero has piercing, I would attribute that to having small instance of damage because it kind of fits in this category. Can you deal with minions, right? If you only have big bursts of damage and no small instances, minions might be troublesome for the hero to deal with, right? And you want to control the minions so they don't scheme a lot or attack you for a lot. So yeah, small instances is going to be important in Marvel Champions. And Maria Hill, I think she has it. It's going to be hard to say, but I think that she has it because the way that Maria Hill wants to operate is to have those shoot supports in play, and then she can trigger them on demand, right? So if the Iliad is already in play, she can exhaust it, do 5 damage. If she has another shoot support like the attack team already in play, she can exhaust it, do more damage, right? Having all those stuff, in play and triggering to do more damage is going to be the way that she wants to play. And also, we are going to kind of factor in allies for her because, each ally you control gains a shoot trait. She wants to be playing with a bunch of shoot allies, right? And then she has good economy to pay for them like we talked about earlier. So, I'm kind of a little bit cheating that in. I definitely will not argue against it if you guys think that she does not deserve the point here for a small instance of damage. But because we are just going to be considering that we have a bunch of shoot supports out, we can exhaust them and do pings wherever we want, to break off tough stats and stuff like that. And then she can also, swing for 1 if she wants to. So because of all that, I am going to give her the check mark here. Once again, I can definitely see the argument for her not having this. It's definitely a tough one here. And then for the overall cost of her attack stuff, I did not give her a check mark here. It's going to be pretty much like how fluid is it for Maria Hill to do damage? Does it feel like she can do damage without much resources? Or is it like I have to spend my entire hand to just do like a few points of damage? And Maria Hill, I think that the cost curve here is more important early game than is late game, right? Any hero can, build out, massively and do and pay for all their attack events. But early game, Maria Hill is going to struggle a lot with damage, in my opinion. She's going to be strictly relying on either allies or, that one big shoot support or like, 2 smaller supports. Because, yeah, she has expensive cards. So her expensive card here is going to be the Iliad. It's a 6-cost support. If you want to play this card to do damage, it is 6 costs to do 5 damage on that first turn. So it's going to be very, very low tempo. Yeah, that is just not great. All the other stuff is really cheap, right? 0 cost here, 1 cost there. But none of the stuff does anything unless you have the Iliad or another, support that does damage actually in play. So because of that, I'm not going to contribute in this stuff as, her cost for dealing damage. This is also not bad, but the cost for this isn't actually just 2 costs to do, 1 damage. It's 2 costs to do 3 damage would be like the cutoff point. But the 3 damage there, you have to have the 3 shoot supports are in play to be able to do 3 damage. And even then, 2 for 3 is not good for damage. You will want at least 2 or 4 for me to consider that as being, a good payment for damage. 2 for 3 thwart removal is a lot more on curve. But yeah, so 2 for 4 damage, you want to have 4 shoot supports out before you play this card if you select the damage option, which is pretty rough. So I think that when you're playing Maria Hill, especially early game, it's going to be very difficult for her to garner the economy to play a lot of, damaging cards to deal with minions. So if you get swarmed a bunch of minions early game, Maria Hill is definitely going to struggle big time. So overall, for attacking, I gave her a score of 2 out of 3. Next, let's take a look at her survivability, which is the next major category. And the 3 subcategories are starting off with the identity card having survivability. And I think that it's very important in Mario Champions for the identity card to have survivability printed on the card, either in Alter Ego or on their hero side. And that's because if you don't draw into any of your defense events or any upgrades or anything like that, can your hero still survive, an onslaught attack from the villain, right? If you don't have allies, don't have anything, if you just get really unlucky, can you deal with it? And if a hero has more hit points, like Hulk has 18 hit points, then that's good, because then he can survive a couple attacks, right? If your hero has a way to block out attacks or like a high defense stat, something like that will also attribute to that. Maria Hill unfortunately does not have anything on her alter ego or her hero side. 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, no ability to help give her more survivability if she doesn't draw into an ally to block for her. And with her alter ego side of the card, same exact thing. You can exhaust her to search your deck for a shoot support and add it to your hand. And there are shoot supports that can add to survivability. And the card I'm talking about is going to be the Pericles. So I think that's definitely a tough one because I was very nice with her and I gave her the check marks here for these. I'm not going to give her the check mark here for this one. And one major thing with the Pericles too is that it's not a card that's actually in her identity specific kit. So if you're building her deck and you don't include that card in her kit, then she can't even grab with her alter ego ability because you don't have it in the deck, right? So it depends how you build her. Maria Hill also only has a printed hit point stat of 9, which is definitely under average, right? We want at least 10 to be considered average, and she only has 9, so that is not very good. Definitely a squishier hero here. So I definitely don't think that she deserves that check mark here for survivability. And the next subcategory for survivability is going to be the cards in her kit. Does Maria Hill have ways to block out damage? Does she have defense events, stuff like that? And she doesn't really have too much. But she does have this card right here, which I think is pretty good. It's a life model decoy. I love this card, very thematic. 2 cost upgrade as an interrupt, so you can use it in alter ego when an enemy attacks you. So that is the triggering condition here. When the enemy attacks, or the time window, I mean. Discard life model decoy, prevent all damage from that attack. So this is not as good as a lot of other upgrades like Nick Fury's upgrade or Cable's upgrade, where you can see the damage before discarding the upgrade and prevent the damage. This is interrupt for when the enemy attacks, right? So it's before the boost card is revealed, you have to decide if you want to trade this card. So if the enemy attacks you, you discard the life model decoy, and then you see their boost card and you see how much damage they do. So if the boost card is like 0 and the enemy only does 2 damage, you still already discard the life model decoy. So it's not as great as those other cards, but it's still a good card because it's a prep card, so you just have it in play. So having that on demand, in my opinion, is a lot better than having it as a defense event in your hand, where you have to it's going to clog your hand size. You need to play at the correct timing, right? As long as this card is in play, you can just wait for whenever Maria Hill, could potentially die to an attack. You can trigger the life model decoy. So yeah, she definitely does have a defense stuff in her kit, and with outside shoot supports, if you include in your deck like the Pericles, those are also cards that will add to her survivability. I am going to kind of consider that just because Maria Hill can include shoot supports with any aspect in her deck. That's a part of her ability, so I'm going to evaluate that with her cards here, and that's why I'm giving her the check mark here for this one, because that is a card that's kind of, she can include, she doesn't have to even include it. It's not a part of her kit, but you probably might want to include it. So Maria Hill will get that check mark here for the cards in her kit, giving her survivability. And then for the third subcategory for survivability is going to be a hero's healing. Does a hero have a way to heal? And Maria Hill actually does here, right? So she has the Iliad. It's a 6 cost support, and one of the options that you can pick here is heal 3 damage from any identity. Unfortunately, I think that this is a really rough option to include this for healing. And I'm not going to argue against it if you guys want to give her the check mark for this, but I was very nice with her with the asterisk I gave her for thwarting, for attacking right here and right here. So I think it's going to be unfair if I give her the asterisk for every single one. I'm not going to give her here this check mark for healing because I feel like the healing here is really, really expensive, and I don't think it's that good of an option if you select the healing, because if you get the Iliad in play, the point is to help you do stuff with the board. and 5 damage is really good. 4 threat move is really good as well. Healing is going to be really good for situation use that you want to do it. It's going to be really good, even better in multiplayer, because you can heal other identities. But if you're in True Soul and you're using this to just kind of catch up and you're spending 6 costs to just get 3 healing, I feel like it's not the best use of this card. You'll have to do it sometimes, right? Like, I'll definitely be using that ability whenever my hit points are low because of the versatility of it. But I want to get more value out of the card. I want to be doing, more proactive things. And this is the only source of healing that she has in her kit. And if she's using this card to heal, the opportunity cost is that she can't use the damage or the threat removal options. So I'm not a big fan of giving her the point for healing just because of this card right here. And other than that, she has no other way to heal. She has no way to red up in her kit. She doesn't really have any other way to utilize her her recovery stat of 3 right here, which isn't even, high or anything like that. But yeah, she can't do anything with that. And I mean, you have to exhaust her to search your deck for a shoot support at your hand. So with her alter ego ability, which you probably want to be doing to get, an extra card to your hand for more economy. If you use that ability, then you can't use your base recovery anyway. So it's going to be tough for Maria Hill to heal, in my opinion. So I am not going to give her a check mark here for her healing ability. For Maria Hill's overall score for survivability, she gets a 1 out of 3 for me. Not that good at all. I do not think that her survivability is going to be very good. She's going to need a lot of help for sure from allies, from other players, and it's going to be difficult to have her survive, in my opinion. The next major category for a hero is going to be their economy. So Maria Hill's economy is where she finally shines, in my opinion. So the 3 subcategories here, starting with the identity card, so the alter ego or the hero side of the card. Does hero have economy to start off the game with? Even if you don't draw into her resource generators or, into a double resource, can she still play cards on turn 1? And Maria Hill definitely has that with her alter ego ability, which is really good. So in alter ego here, she can exhaust herself and insert your deck for a shoot support, add to your hand. So whether or not you actually want to play the shoot support or not, you probably do, but you can just exhaust it to grab a card, add to your hand, which is +1 card to your hand. So you can have 7 cards, add to your hand size here of 6 if you're starting off in turn 1. If you flip down to alter ego and you need 1 more resource to play a certain card, you can always exhaust her, grab a card to your hand, and then play that powerful card that you want to play. So yeah, I think she definitely has that printed on her alter ego ability. Her hero ability does not have anything to add economy, but having that on alter ego to start games off, I think it's going to be already very good. So she definitely gets a check mark here for that. Next is going to be the cards in the hero's kit. What do they have? Do they have resource generators or double resources? And Maria Hill has both. I think she definitely has very good economy. She has 2 copies of the special funding right here. It's a double resource, mental and physical, and as a response, after you spend this card to pay for a shoot support, place 1 all-purpose counter on that support after it enters play. So that's a great effect to power up your shoot supports more. But even if you don't do that, it's still just a great double resource, right? Having a double resource is always just going to be a good card. And then Maria Hill also has her support staff. Here's a 1-cost support. Comes in with 3 counters. As a resource, you can exhaust it, remove a counter, and then generate a wild resource for any player whose identity has a shoot trait. And luckily, Maria Hill does have the shoot trait in her hero form and in her alter ego here, so she can't use that in hero and alter ego to generate a resource for herself. And in multiplayer, it's going to be really nice to have other players generate resources as well. So yeah, I mean, it does have counters, but it's very similar to web shooters, but even a little bit better because you can use it for any player and use it in alter ego or hero form. Web shooters is a hero resource, which you can only use in a hero form. So yeah, she does have good economy there with the double resources and the support staff, so she's going to get a check mark here for her cards having economy. And finally, it's going to be the cost curve for Maria Hill's cards. This one is going to be a little bit difficult. So the only card that's really expensive for her to play is going to be the Iliad here, but she does have great economy like special funding or support staff to help pay for this card. And you can get like a Helicarrier on turn 1 and pay for it, and then that can also help pay for this card, down the line, right? You can grab a Helicarrier on demand with her alter ego ability that we talk about right here, because you can search your deck for a shoot support like the Helicarrier and add it straight to your hand. So that's going to be pretty powerful. So yeah, I think that she overall, the other cards in her kit are very, very cheap, right? 1-cost event, 0-cost event, and they can do great things depending on how many shoot supports you have or what shoot supports you have. The all points bulletin is also a great event depending, scaling with the amount of shoot supports that you have. It's just if you want to include the other, 6-cost shoot supports in the other aspects that come in her pre-con deck, that might be difficult, but I do expect that a lot of players will be building her deck with shoot supports that aren't all of those 6 cost supports, right? Like some of the 1 cost ones, some of the 3 cost ones, which will definitely help out with your kit. But even with that, she has a lot of economy too. And Nick Fury is an expensive ally, but he stays in play. He can activate 3 times and in place all-purpose counters on shoot supports as well. So he's going to be a strong ally to help Maria Hill add more counters on her shoot supports. So overall, I don't think that Maria Hill's kit is going to be too expensive to pay for because of her high economy. For attacking though, I didn't give her the point because I do think it's going to be difficult for her to do a lot of damage, especially early game. But paying for other stuff is not going to be as big of a deal, I think, as doing damage for Maria Hill. And then finally, the 5th major category for evaluating hero is going to be that hero's versatility here. And I gave Maria Hill a 1 out of 3 score for this. These are the 3 subcategories. So her in-game versatility, how she play in-game, can she build, can she rush, can she do both, does she have to play a very streamlined specific type of way? That would mean that she does not have the flexibility or versatility in-game. And Maria Hill unfortunately does not get a check mark for her in-game versatility because, as you guys can probably guess, she has to play a specific type of way. She has to build. She just flat out cannot rush. I don't think that you can even build her to rush. There are unique ways to build her, right? Like with the more ally-centric build or with the more shoot support-centric build. But either way, she's going to be playing down allies, playing down supports. And against villains like the Collector one that punishes the player for having cards in play, it's going to be a rough climb for Maria Hill because she wants to have cards that are in play. And, I'm a player that loves having cards in play, so that's why I'm very excited to play her. But that is a very restrictive way to play, not having the flexibility to do a bunch of events and having an event-oriented playstyle. So yeah, I think she's, definitely not going to get a check mark for that. And then for the cancels here, it's going to be encounter card cancels. It's the next subcategory for versatility. And I think it's important for a hero to have encounter card cancels because you can play more recklessly and just know that even if you get a treachery that can finish off the main scheme, like for example, if the villain gets an advance, you know that you won't lose because you have an encounter card cancel in your hand or already in play, like an upgrade or something like that can cancel a treachery. And unfortunately, Maria Hill does not have any treachery cancels in her kit either, right? We can look through her kit again right here. She doesn't have anything that can cancel a nasty encounter card. So if she does reveal a game-ending encounter card, it will be game-ending because she can't cancel it. But there is a slight caveat here. I'm still not going to give her the check mark, but if you are playing her in leadership, you can include this support right here. This does not have the shoot trait, so you only include the support in her deck if you are selecting the leadership aspect for Maria Hill. And this card right here has really good synergy with Maria Hill, which is why I kind of want to talk about it right here. If each of your characters have the shoot trait, this card gains interrupt when you review an encounter card, exhaust this card, cancel the effects of that card and discard it, then review another card from the encounter deck, right? So this is a really good encounter card cancel because it will never run out. You just have to exhaust a card and then cancel a card. And you can do this every single round because this card will ready up every single round. So that is really good. And the reason why it works so well with Maria Hill is because if each of your characters have the shoot trait, she makes all of her allies have the shoot trait if she's in hero form. So if you're in hero form, you kind of have a buffer right here with this card, but you have to be in hero form, number one. You have to be playing the leadership aspect. So that's 2 things, and you need to have this card in your deck, right? So 3 total things. I think it's going to be a little bit rough for me to give her the checkmark here. So, and it would be unfair in my opinion. So she does not get a checkmark here for encounter card cancels in her kit. And the last subcategory for versatility is going to be aspects. Can this hero play across different aspects in every single aspect and still do very well? Or are they, pigeonholed to aggression? Do they have to play in protection or leadership? Can they play in any aspect? And I think Maria Hill definitely can play, as adequate as, she is in any aspect because of her deck building ability where you can include shoot supports from any aspect in her deck, right? So whether you're playing leadership, protection, aggression, pool, or justice, you can still have shoot supports from other aspects in your deck. So even though you're locked to a specific aspect, you can still have certain aspect cards in your deck which can help out and round out the way that she wants to play and let her do different things that normal heroes can't do because they can only play one specific aspect. So for that final subcategory, Maria Hill will get a checkmark for that. And yeah, she is missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 check marks here. And I did give her 3 asterisks here, although I could have given her an asterisk for survivability here as well because of the Iliad giving that healing ability, but I didn't give her that because of the asterisks I gave here. Just kind of, trying to balance things out, just trying to eyeball some things. And yeah, for heroes that are missing 6 check marks here, I always give them an evaluation of a B tier here. So I do believe that Maria Hill will be a B tier hero. She may be a lot better in multiplayer, but even then, if you need a lot of support from the group to help you get set up, that's not going to be a top tier hero even in multiplayer, although she can reap the benefits and do, very impactful things later on. That works for true solo and in multiplayer, right? The major thing with Maria Hill is, can she survive early game Can she get set up? Can she build out the way that she wants to? And then once she gets rolling, she's going to be able to do her thing. But can she get rolling? That is a big thing there. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Maria Hill is a B tier hero? Do you agree with my evaluations of her? For everyone that's played her, please let me know down in the comments what you think of her, especially in true solo. Is she viable in true solo? Because I could be entirely wrong on this. If I am, I will make another video, discussing why I'm wrong and why my chart system did not work with Maria Hill specifically, and why I needed to change some things. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoy this one, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.